Welcome into the Own Yourself show. My name is Alex Ardell. You can go follow me over on Twitter at Voting is Violence. There is no O in violence. My show for you today is on culture. And I'm going to do a series on culture for the next few weeks because I was really interested in Michael Malice's new books and all of the interviews he did recently on culture. And kind of, well, he did them on the new right. And probably the thing I thought was the most interesting out of those was this idea of how bad conservatives are at affecting culture. And I thought that was really interesting. And so I would like to delve into that and see if we can't get to the bottom of why that is. And, you know, try to learn more about that. So today's show, I'm going to do 4 shows. And basically, these are 4 things that have to be understood to understand um, the the goals of both the right and the left with their culture, and then also the manner in which that could be accomplished. So, one is the purpose of the left. Number 2 is the purpose of the right. Number 3 is the appeal of the left. And number 4 is the appeal of the right. So today I will cover the purpose of the left. I'm going to try not to make these boring. Sometimes I find politics really fucking boring. So I'm not really talking about the political angle of the left today. I'm going to talk about the cultural angle. And because that's really what is important in my mind, the way I see it. Um, Fuck politics. You know, um, if you're trying to accomplish one thing in politics and the culture is completely against you, you'll never get that done. Um, but if you're trying to accomplish something in culture, even if the politics is against you, eventually it will get done. And you can see that with something like gay marriage, or you could see that with the fight right now with states legalizing marijuana. When the culture decides it's time to get something done, it gets done. And so today we'll talk about the purpose of the left. And first, I'll get into another reason why I'm doing this, because I would like to see a world where conservatives are better at affecting culture. Um, I don't really consider myself a conservative, but I definitely don't want a leftist dominated culture. I agree with some of the things they've accomplished, but I don't think it's healthy to have one side completely dominating the the cultural or the direction that culture is taking. I don't think that's good. And so I would like to see conservatives be able to um, mount some sort of counterattack to left wing domination of the culture. And I think this is actually possible almost overnight because if you think about how the left took over culture, they did this through a slow march through the institutions. They did this by um, gaining power in the colleges. They did this by gaining power in entertainment. And it took a long fucking time to do this. This didn't happen overnight because you couldn't communicate to people the way you can today. You had to influence people through these institutions, and to some extent, you still need people still react to authority, so that's still going to help. But since you can get a message to so many people now, or so many more people now than you could before, um, I think that's good, and I think it could speed the process up were the right to start figuring out successful strategies. So today I'll start with the purpose of the left. And conservatives mistake the left for being inherently anti-hierarchy. They're not. It's easy to think that because the left is completely obsessed with equality, systemic oppression of low status groups. And so it's understandable to think that these people are just inherently against all hierarchy. And that's definitely not the case. Because at its core, the left believes that all humans possess equal potential. So you have to think that what they think is that were you to put two people in the same situation and they made the same choices, they would have the same outcomes. So you could say like a Hispanic farm worker and an Asian med student. You could take both of these people. Were the Hispanic farm worker to be given the same opportunities the Asian med student has, a left wing person would believe that they could both be doctors, or that they would both likely become doctors given the same choice and given the same opportunities. And so this isn't anti-hierarchy completely. What it is they do accept a hierarchy based on choice. And that seems weird. It doesn't sound right, and I'll get into that later. But the left does accept a hierarchy, but they accept a hierarchy based on choice, and they believe that since you don't see this in the world, you clearly don't see the equality of outcomes for any number of reasons. They attribute those reasons um, to the people not having the same opportunities. So they don't attribute this to choice as much as they attribute inequality to a lack of opportunity. So they're not just anti-hierarchy. They believe that the natural order of the world is such that people possess equal potential. Now, the problem with this is that no two people will ever have the same opportunity afforded to them, ever. That will never happen. No matter how much you try to make it happen, you use the government to make it happen, um, this will simply never happen due to the complexity of the world. Another problem is that even if you accept individual choice, creating a hierarchy as being acceptable, individual choice will masquerade as limited opportunity. So it's going to look like there's always going to be equality, and you could attribute that to limited opportunity, but it could simply be due to choice, and culture affects choice. So it's likely that the Hispanic farm worker um, could have made a decision to be a farm worker due to his culture, whereas the Asian culture of um, excellence, just complete work ethic, is going to drive that person further, and just complete not accepting of anything other than the top. You're going to be either a doctor or a lawyer or get out of my house. It's the Asian culture. And that's going to affect choice, and that's going to masquerade as limited opportunity. So that's a huge problem. And that's why this leftist goal is never ending. It will never be achieved. It's utopian in itself. Their actual goal and their purpose is never ending because there will always be human choice involved. And when you involve human choice, it's very easy to say they made these choices because they had less opportunity. Well, that could be true, but it could also be true that people simply make different choices. That's why you see the left not accepting or continue to push the wage gap myth. They continue to push many things that can be easily explained by human choice as examples of hierarchy's gone bad. So they would be against that sort of hierarchy, but not just because they're against hierarchy. This is something where, like, Jordan Peterson um, is just not a very deep thinker. Doesn't he stops at what he sees as a logical conclusion. But you can go a level deeper than that and ask, why does the left reject hierarchy? And that's super important because you need to fundamentally know what they're all about. And so that's their problem. Um, they see, they reject the idea of inequality if it derives from lack of opportunity or unequal opportunity, because they see all human potential as being equivalent. So if all people have equivalent potential, given the same opportunity, they will all have the same outcomes. So think about, like, what kind of world you would think of as being legitimate and just if you believed that all humans had the same potential and the only thing stopping them from all being equal outcomes was their lack of opportunity. The kind of world you would want to see was basically a world with more or less equal outcome, or very close to equal outcomes, because it's based on choice. And you would think nobody wants to fail, nobody wants to lose at the game, and so there must be something else stopping these people from getting what they want. And think about how. So, well, let me go into this. So, obviously, the goal is unachievable. It's utopian. You can't make everybody's opportunities the same. Um, and when you can do that, what you quickly find out is that people make different decisions, anyways. Choice plays a bigger role than the left wants to admit. So instead of reworking their fundamental idea, what they will do, and this is why you see a rise in this new type of socialism, what they will do is try to do a workaround where, instead of creating equal opportunity, which they see is not working, it has not worked, they will simply enforce the equal outcomes. And so that's the world that they think should exist in a just world. And they say, well, we can't make opportunity be all the same. But since everyone has the same potential, we will just legislate equal outcomes, which is what they believe the natural order of equality will result in naturally. They think it should do that, but someone is stopping them. That's why they think conservatives are stopping, or the right, whatever you want to call the enemy of the left. They think that their enemies are literally stopping the natural order of things from progressing to a utopian equal society. Because of that, um, this is why socialism is so attractive to these people. And it's very attractive to people who are just simply anywhere on the spectrum on the left. Like I've often said, um, what if a conservative came out and said he was a democratic fascist? Would anyone not think that this is a Nazi? So why is it acceptable to be a democratic socialist? And they get this workaround where they say, "Oh well, this isn't socialism. This is where we just want bigger social problem or social programs." Well, you're calling yourself a socialist. The left's okay with socialism because they see this as a way to enforce what they think should be the outcomes in a just world, in a just society. They think this is the natural order of things, and equality should result from it. So that's why you see the rise of socialism now, because if you looked at what the left has achieved over, I don't know, say 50 years, they created a lot of equal opportunity, right? And it was good. I'm all for equal opportunity. If it's done in a good, just way. I would like the culture to become a culture of equal opportunity, and it was not that um, prior to the civil rights movement. I mean, there's no way you can argue that there was a culture of hiring blacks as easily as you could hire whites, and the left has to cling on to that idea that that is still around and that this systemic racism is still around because they're not seeing equality. They're not seeing the result of the way they think things should look. So they have to say, well, there must still be systemic injustice. And that's why you hear them use that language. They don't just mean there are cases of racism. They mean this is a systemic thing, and it has to be systemic to see inequality on the level that we do. Because the only other option is people are choosing inequality, or humans do not all have the same potential. And those are not acceptable to their worldview because they believe both those things, that humans do have the same potential, and most inequality can be attributed to lack of opportunity. So I've kind of explained why you see redistributive ideas coming from the left, because they want to create the world that they see as being the just, legitimate end result of the natural order of equal human potential. I hope that made sense. So, wrapping up, the left's purpose is endless. This is never going to stop because you will never see equal opportunity. You'll never see that. And then you will also never see equal human potential. Humans are different. We want different things. Every human is unique. And this means we have different potential and different interests. So you'll never see the two core pieces of their idea. This will never happen. If you are a leftist and you kind of resonate with anything I've said, I would, ask you to rethink your idea about what humans are. But so their purpose is endless. This is something conservatives don't understand. So you often hear that basically the left fights to win and conservatives just fight to hang on. Well, that's because when you have a relentless opponent who endlessly assaults you, you have to do the same thing to them. You have to crush them, or they just keep assaulting you. It's never going to end. It's something conservatives don't understand. The left's goal is endless, or their purpose is endless. It will go on for eternity because you cannot fundamentally achieve the things they want to achieve. So their goal is endless, and it is to create equality. First, by leveling the playing field and creating equal opportunity, and then when that fails, through redistribution. That is the left's purpose. The left's purpose is endless. It is to create equality by leveling the playing field, and when that fails, through redistribution. So now you know the purpose of the left. Next, or on Monday, I will explain the purpose of the right. And then we can get into the appeal of these two different sides, and that's when we can really start looking into how the left affects culture and how the right could affect culture if they stopped crying and whining about the endless push left. Thanks for listening. Go follow me over on Twitter at Voting is Violence. There is no O in violence. You can find me on YouTube, obviously, now. It's probably where you're watching this. And email me at ownyourselfshow@gmail.com. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you on Monday.